Welcome to Ready to Be Strong. I'm Tanya Israel.
And I'm Elizabeth Scharf.
Together, we're broadening our minds, opening our hearts.
And strengthening connections to face the challenges of living in a divided world.
In this episode, we're talking about the Bridging Summit. So, Elizabeth, I'm very excited because last month I went to a gathering of the Bridging Movement. There are over 500 organizations working on bridging divides and strengthening our democracy. And we all got together in person for the very first time. We've been meeting on Zoom for years.
Really?
And so it was really exciting. We got together and I really wanted to share it with you.
Oh my gosh, where did that happen, first of all?
Okay, this is part of what was amazing. It happened at Mount Vernon, okay,
Oh,
which is George Washington's home, and also where the presidential library is for George Washington. So it felt like a very historic kind of place to be, and I think that that was part of it too. Like we had the thing there. There are people who came for the evening part that typically just come to things that happen at the George Washington Presidential Library. Like they have public programs, and I thought that was cool. That was something I didn't know. And then at the end, we got a tour of Mount Vernon, and so I was just feeling really like steeped in our country and in people who are trying to hold our country together.
right. It almost sounds like that same meeting could have happened 300 years ago. I mean, maybe not that long ago, but maybe it's more one-sided. But they were trying to bridge a political divide as well, to a certain extent.
I mean, we've been trying to bridge
Yeah,
political divides for the whole history of our country,
yeah.
really. And I think that's part of it is it just gives me a little bit more of the long view. Like
Mhm.
when I look at the news and when I look at my social media, I am being bombarded with like what happened 10 minutes ago or what happened in the last day. And it's all like at a crisis point.
Mhm.
And I'm not saying that any of that isn't happening, and I'm not saying that it isn't a crisis in a lot of ways,
Mhm.
but that's not the only thing that's happening. I think that's what I'm really getting from the bridging movement is it's not in denial that any of that stuff is really putting presses on our country and on us as individuals. But it's saying there's other things we can attend to also.
And those pressures have been happening for a really long time. And would you say that what's really changed is the media and the business model around media?
In terms of creating those presses,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, there's a whole lot of things,
Yeah. I'm
certainly
trying to
like,
simplify what's going
yeah,
on.
yeah, there's another episode
Yeah.
we can totally have about media and social media and sort of what's causing the division.
Yeah.
But actually, this is my point that we talk so much about the division and what's causing the
Mm.
division. We talk so little about what we're doing about it, about the
Hmm.
solutions to it. And so at this summit, I got to see people in person and hug people in person who
Hmm.
I have only known on Zoom. And I've been on panels with these people and we're in these meetings. And so that was just amazing to be in person. It reminds me of the importance for us
Hmm.
when we're creating community. There's a lot that we're doing to create community, especially since COVID, where we're making things more accessible by doing things at a distance. We're doing things virtually.
Yeah.
But it just reminded me how, even when we're doing that, it feels so different to actually be in the same room with people. So that was
Hmm.
so great. And they did a lot of things that were that really embodied what this movement is about. So there was team building stuff that happened. There were ways that we engaged with each other. People were like, okay, let's do some things to get to know each other that are like what we want to do in community,
Hmm.
that are about really connecting, getting to know other people's values, getting to know just who other people are. We're not going to like dive right in and get to work.
Right.
We're because part of the work, and actually this was the biggest thing that came across
Hmm.
really the heart of the work is relational. It's
Hmm.
about building relationships. And I know that's something that you do in your
Hmm.
work too, so I think that you'll appreciate that. So, yeah, so that was a huge part of it. And then but it was also something where I got to hear data. I got to hear data about how things are working, about the fact that things that we're doing make a difference and have an impact. And also got to hear data to help understand like the landscape of this division and
Hmm.
what's going on with people in this country. So I feel like it was, you know, evidence-based, which I
Right.
love. It was relational, which I love. And it was really actively engaged too.
Hmm.
So all of those things really gave me so much that motivates me to keep working on these things.
Well, it sounds like quite an adventure. And also, I'm now going back to how long has this adventure been going on for you in terms of meeting with these people? You said years. Are these folks that have been professionally doing this
Mm.
kind of work, or is it like hobbyists? Are they political strategists? Like, tell me more about
That's
that.
such a good question. Um, so many different kinds of things that people are doing. So I got involved because after I wrote my first book, Beyond Your Bubble, about how to have
Hmm.
dialogue across political differences, then I started making more connections with
Hmm.
people in the bridging movement because I hadn't really been so connected before. And so they started sort of pulling me in. And that, some people like invited me to, virtually Zoom into their classes or,
Hmm.
because this was like in 2020, 2021, people weren't traveling. And so I connected with people because we were doing programming together, but then there's also this thing called the Listen First Coalition,
Hmm.
which really is a place that houses all of these 500 plus organizations and a way that we stay connected to each other.
Hmm.
And so so I've probably been attending these meetings for, I don't know, 3 or 4 years now. And so getting to, then meet people in person who I've seen so much there.
Hmm.
And here's the thing I love about what's bringing people to it. People are bringing whatever they have to it.
Hmm.
So I'm like, all right, I'm a psychologist. I can write. I can try to translate research into really practical skills to help people navigate political division. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to write
Hmm.
books about how to do that. I'm going to write on the Psychology Today blog about how to do that. I'm going to go and do speaking engagements and do
Hmm.
workshops. And so those are the things that I can do. So that's what I'm bringing. But other people are like, I am an evaluation specialist.
Hmm.
So I'm going to help all these other organizations. I'm going to build a platform so we can all gather data to
Hmm.
evaluate the effectiveness of our programs. And some people are like, well, I'm an interfaith leader. So I'm going to come at it from that approach and bring together faith communities to address these issues. Here's one of my favorites. And some people are like, I like whitewater rafting trips.
Yeah.
So I'm going to take Republicans and Democrats whitewater rafting together. And the Raft for America is just one of my favorite organizations in this because I think it's so innovative what they're doing. Because it sounds like the most dangerous thing in the world, but it turns out when you bring humans together in a situation where they have to collaborate, they really they really do and they really humanize each other.
Hmm.
So I got to meet the Raft for America people, which I was so excited about and so much fun. And now they want me to go whitewater rafting, which is not something I'm comfortable with. So we'll see if that happens. But so that's the beauty of
Mm.
this coalition. Everybody's like, our country is in trouble.
Hmm.
What do I have to bring to this? Yeah, it's
Hmm.
it's the Justice League, you
Yeah.
know?
I love that. It really resonates with me because it's was it walking the talk or what's that? If
Mm,
you want to see bridges amongst the politically divided, then build them, and all these people are doing just that.
yeah.
So it's not necessarily being in a think tank. Not everyone's in a think tank. Not everyone's creating an organization that's in DC that's about saving our democracy. These are action-oriented
Yeah.
folks
Yeah.
to bridge.
And I would say a lot of people came to it from the perspective of dialogue
Mhm.
and which also I did, but then I have sort of been like, oh wait, dialogue's not all that we should be doing.
Mhm.
And we can talk about that a little bit too if we have time, or maybe that's another episode, but that there's some idea that not everybody wants to engage in dialogue.
Mhm.
And some of that is because people will say, like, when you say you want to have dialogue with me, what you really mean is that you want to be like a fire hose of facts and accusations at me.
Right.
And it's true, like that's where a lot of people are coming from, or it's very transactional. Like I hear
Hmm.
people like, I want to have dialogue with people so that I can convince them. And so people go right to the like, let me give you all the facts and figures, and again, ignoring the relational
Hmm.
piece of it. But it turns out that some people, and it might even be more people on the right, uh, really do better just working in collaboration
Hmm.
toward a common goal
Right.
and not so much in the dialogue space. And I'm like, okay, that's a really good thing for us to know so that we can say, what are the kinds of opportunities we can set up
Hmm.
where people can be collaborating together in a common space toward a goal rather than saying, sit in a room together, look at each other, and have a conversation about something you disagree on.
Right.
Like, which,
Yeah.
it seems now not surprising that that's not necessarily the way to start this.
Right. I mean, that makes sense. Some people don't like talk therapy when they're having therapy sessions. They would like to
Yeah.
do something together with the person if they're having couples therapy.
Mhm.
Anyway, that's another episode. What was the goal? The way you're talking, it sounds like there was some strategic planning decisions
Hmm.
happening. Is
Hmm.
that what was the goal of the meeting? Was it
Well,
coming up with that, a
yeah, it's
strategic plan?
interesting because it's not an organization, it's a
Right.
coalition. So
Mm-hmm.
there are a lot of different groups doing different things. So some of it was coming together so we can learn from each other.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what's this group doing? What's that group doing? What do the data say that we can all benefit from? But then there's also some things that are like national initiatives that have like people can do locally.
Mm.
There's this whole thing going on for the day after the day after the 4th of July, which turns out to be the 5th of July next year, where they're trying to have people come together and have a meal together.
Mm.
And I'm like, oh, what a lovely idea. So the 4th of July is going to be like the 250th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence. So as we're doing that, how do we actually also come together and do some bridging? There are things like National Week of Conversation, which is a national event, but all these different organizations have ways of plugging in. So one of the things that I like is there's sort of opportunities that are available that people are working on
Mm-hmm.
that other organizations or individuals can figure out how can I plug into this and do something as a part of it. Because I hear from people all the time, people are like, oh, I'm going to start an organization that does this or this, related to bridging. And I'm like, okay, there's already organizations doing that. You're still,
Right.
of course you can start an organization, but if that's something that you're invested in, like here's five other organizations that are doing things like that. Do you want to plug in somewhere?
Hmm. So can people start their own chapters of organizations, almost like Moms Demand Action or Mothers Against Drunk Driving? Could,
Yeah,
yeah.
sure. And it depends on the organization. So some organizations like Braver Angels definitely have local chapters. And then there's things like Bridge USA, which is a campus-based organization. And so campuses have
Hmm.
these, and actually after Charlie Kirk was killed, all these campuses were like, we need to be on board with having some kind of bridging activities going on our campus. So they're doing more of that. So, yeah, so there are a lot of things where you can have a local chapter.
Hmm.
And then there are some things where just you as an individual can also plug in or, create something in your own community or like Living Room Conversations has like conversation guides for a lot of different topics. So if you're like, I want to have a bunch of people over for a dinner party, but I want to actually have a like an in-depth conversation about something, you can just pull on those resources and do something yourself.
This is perfect timing before Thanksgiving.
Oh yeah.
I'm going to be looking at those guides. Was there anything or anyone who really surprised you? Like, oh, I didn't think an 8-year-old would be here, or I'm not sure. Anything like that?
One of the things that stood out to me is there were a lot of people who I recognized from our Zoom calls and everything, and there were a lot of people who I had not made contact with
Hmm.
yet. And so it was really nice to sort of have some familiarity with people, but then also to get introduced to new things that are happening.
Hmm.
So, like I was saying, next year is the semi-quincentennial, the 250th anniversary of our country. I met someone who's working on the 300th anniversary of our
Oh,
country,
wow.
like thinking 51 years ahead from
Yeah.
now, like in starting to envision that and starting to build that. And I'm like, oh, I love the long visioning that
Hmm.
these people have and are really bringing so much to making it happen. So yes, like new things that I'm hearing about that just get me really excited and encouraged.
When you talked about planning for 51 years from now, I think, wow, so is that a good thing or a bad thing, or maybe neither, that someone's thinking that these divisions will still exist then?
Well, it could be that the division still exists, but frankly, all the stuff that we're doing,
Hmm.
whether it's, having dialogue or going whitewater rafting or having community events like meals together, really good stuff to do, whether or not there is distinct division happening.
Hmm.
It will help us to stay connected to each other. I mean, there are so many groups that are working at the very local level. In fact, the first evening, they showcased several of those groups, and I'll put a link in the show notes to the video that honors like all of these different local organizations that actually then got awards for the work that they're doing.
Hmm.
And it's so cool hearing about them and the things that they're doing. It's like, here's a group of people who are civics teachers who are
Right.
thinking about how do we, help address this issue of division. There are people doing all kinds of different things. So now I forgot the question. Uh,
Well, is this a pessimistic outlook
oh,
that we're going to
right.
need
Yeah.
this in 51 years?
No, the thing it's gonna do is to strengthen us. It's gonna strengthen us as individuals, as a country, like we talk about with this podcast, like
Hmm.
what we're trying to do is to strengthen our individual and collective resilience, really. And that's something that's going to be helpful no matter what.
Right. It's like exercising every day. We're gonna just no matter what.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
Yeah, I'm thinking about this as well because we're recruiting our new cohort of
Oh
fellows
yeah.
for our what we call our civic engagement.
When you say we, do you want to?
Oh, leading from within. In our last
Mhm.
podcast, we highlighted my new role at leading from within or lizzing from within. Someone said. And I brought this, I wouldn't call it a framework. It was just a way to instigate our board to think of people that are unlikely candidates for our new fellowship. And so I created this grid and I put different issue areas on the left, like housing, climate, health, education.
Mhm.
And then in the next column, I wrote who are different types of stakeholders who are involved.
Mhm.
And, things like oil companies,
Yeah.
big healthcare insurance companies. I mean, and I'm in a room of social justice folks.
Yeah.
And the reaction was a little mixed, and I had to push back with the group and say if
Hmm.
we want to solve big hairy problems
Hmm.
down the road, we need to make sure that we're creating bridging people who are maybe on different sides of the aisle by creating
Yeah.
relationships between them,
Yeah.
going through something like our program, which is all about bringing your full self in
Hmm.
your leadership position. So in that way, it's very, very similar to
Oh
try to
wow.
keep bridging um, even when you think you don't need it, but start
Yeah.
bridging early
Ooh, that's
and long.
that's fantastic. I love that you're thinking that way because I mean, you have to believe that, if what you say is like, oh, if we bring our full selves to our work and to our leadership, then that's gonna give us, a good direction to go in. It's gonna be, strengthen our integrity and our vision and all that. We have to believe that that's true for the people who are in the businesses that might be, at times working against what we are trying to do
Yeah,
as well. So, yeah, that's great.
yeah, I'll let you know how it goes.
Uh-huh. I'm very curious.
Maybe we'll join the association.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what are the next steps for this group?
Hmm.
Do you meet regularly?
Yep.
What?
We meet on Zoom every month. And the thing that I know is that everybody who's on that Zoom meeting has all the other things that they're doing in between. Like I
Mhm.
said, this is a coalition. So mostly what I get from going to these meetings is connecting with other people, getting ideas. I also, like anyone who reads my newsletter will see that like I will sometimes be amplifying
Mhm.
things that other folks are doing. So much of that I
I
get
love that.
from those meetings. Like they'll be like, oh, here's the thing that's going on. Oh, there's going to be a film festival as
Mhm.
part of National Week of Conversation. And so here's how you can let people know about that. So it's things that then I can let other people know about. And when I do my public speaking,
Mhm.
I so often will, get this question of like, how can you be so optimistic?
Mhm.
And I'm like, here's how, because I know about these things going on. And
Mhm.
you don't have to attend a monthly meeting. You don't have to say you're part of the bridging movement. You don't have to be doing those things, but just tuning into it, just having it on your radar
Yeah.
is so helpful. So I'll also put a link in the show notes to the Listen First pledge where people can, no one's going to come and check and be like, no, no, wait, you spoke before you listened. You're not going to get dinged for it. But it'll mean that you're going to hear about things that are going
Mhm.
on from any of these organizations. And that I think is so
Mhm.
good. It's not to ignore all the other stuff that's going
Right.
on. In addition to that, let's tune in to the ways that we're working
Mhm.
on bridging and strengthening our
Mhm.
democracy.
And if you feel like there's some way you can activate yourself or others, I definitely would feel more helpful than helpless in
Yeah.
this kind of,
There's so many ways to plug
yeah.
in.
Hmm.
Really. I mean, it's tremendous. Like I was saying, whatever it is you're into, there are people who are quilting, there are people
I
who
love
are
it.
writing letters, there are people, whatever it is you're into,
Yeah.
there's probably an organization doing that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll link to the Listen First project, which will then list like, here's all these organizations and if anyone is like, but I don't know where I should plug in, like they can just contact me and I'll be like, oh, here's who you can contact, or here's who might be doing this, or I
Hmm.
I spend a lot of time helping people figure out. In fact, I did a bunch of speaking engagements in this last month, and at one of them was a psychology
Hmm.
conference, and there was a psychologist there who said, I heard you speak 3 years ago, and you talked about this organization called Braver Angels, and I hadn't heard that was the first time I'd heard of it. And so I reached out to them, I got involved, and now I'm on their mental health board, and I was like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
that's so great. So I love it when, I can plant a seed, we can plant seeds,
Hmm.
and then, people like it might take a few times to hear about it, but then you go, oh yeah, that's something I can learn more about, or that's something I can plug into or put some of my energy
Hmm.
into. And it can really make a difference, I think, for each of us, just in terms of our own uh, groundedness and mental health. And it can do a lot of good for the collective as well.
I love this. Have you approached the folks that are in DC and in the like political strategy sphere, the people, and been like, oh, why don't we connect? Why don't we work together?
Yeah, so I haven't because
Yeah.
other people are.
Okay.
And actually, no, that's not true. I have with
Hmm.
the help of other people too.
Hmm.
So there's legislation that we're trying to get passed so that there can be funding
Hmm.
for bridging endeavors and for endeavors that strengthen democracy. We do this in other countries. I mean, maybe not so much now,
Yeah.
but we do invest in other countries, in democracy supporting
Mm.
but we don't really have a lot where we do it here.
Okay.
So, yeah, so there's some legislation that we're trying to get through. I reached out to, my congressional representative and anyway, so I've been supporting that in various ways. So, yeah, there are people working, like I said, in whatever
Hmm.
capacity. And here's the great thing about it, because you're like, well, have you done this? And I'm like, no, I don't have to do it
Right.
all because
Hmm.
there's all these people who are doing it together. And that feels great because I'm like, I'm not good at everything.
Yeah.
But there are things that I'm good at, and it enables me to do those things better when I'm in
Hmm.
connection and community and coalition.
I love it. I think that I have people coined themselves bridges?
Bridgers.
Bridgers.
We're
Okay, we're
bridgers.
bridgers.
Yes.
I mean, because we only have two political parties really, and
Hmm.
a little third. I feel like this could be a movement to create something that is something everyone can get behind. Like, how can you say no to bridging?
Well, there are a lot of ways that people say
Okay.
no to printing. Let's actually maybe we can do an episode on that
Okay.
because I think I would love to speak to all of the pushback that I get
Mhm.
as a bridger.
Really?
Oh, yes. And everybody who's in the bridging movement gets
No
this too.
way.
So let's do that.
Okay.
Okay, we'll do a follow-up on, yeah, how to on the pushback and on why I think it's worth doing. But I would love to address those concerns people have. So
Okay.
that's
All
great.
right.
Yay. All
We're
right.
set.
Next time. So I'm Tanya Israel, psychologist, professor emeritus, and author of Facing the Fracture.
And I'm Elizabeth Sharf, social entrepreneur and urgent optimist.
Make
Make
your
your
choice.
choice.
Are you ready to be strong?